Hi there, and welcome to IS Tools. In this tutorial, we will go through how to create a data model using the data model editor on the IS Tools platform. This is the first step in creating your application, and how you configure your data model will be fundamental in determining the data flow in your application. So if you're new to data modeling, it's worth spending a little extra time learning about the concept first. This is not something we will be covering in this tutorial, so make sure you are at least familiar with what a data model could look like before proceeding. Okay, let's open up the main menu on the left-hand side and navigate to Data Model Editor under Administration. We will start creating our model by adding a table in the left column. Our first table will be called User and will contain various fields to store data related to the different end users of our application. When adding a field to our table, we provide it with a name and a type, which will determine what type of user input the field accepts. By default, the type is text. Our table will require several text fields. Now that we're done with our text fields, we're going to create some other field types. Number fields accept only digits and can be used to perform calculations. We'll also add a dates field and a note field, which can also display formatted text. The user status will be a drop-down. This type requires a list to provide options, but since we haven't created any yet, we'll leave it blank for now. The checkbox field type represents a Boolean value and is often used for verification. Our user also needs a relation field. The relation field defines a parent table to the current table. This connects the two data tables through a data modeling hierarchy. We'll dive deeper into this later on, but for now, you can think of the child table, in this case, user, as a subcategory of the parent table. We'll use contact as a placeholder until we have created our parent table. Avatar will be a file field, which is able to store data files. And lastly, we'll add a date time field. This is different from bait in that it also stores time. Although this is useful, it also takes more space on the server, which can lead to a performance impact when accessing large data sets. When creating your fields, it is a good idea to consider how performance may be impacted based on your choice of type. You shouldn't use a datetime field if a date field will suffice, or a number field if a checkbox is sufficient. Let's move on to our second table. The work log table will contain fields that allow the app to store data pertaining to the working hours of the users. The duration will be a number. Lunch break will be a checkbox representing yes or no. User will be a relation connecting this table to our user table. We'll also need a start and an end, both of which will be date time fields. Our last table will be company. We will need multiple text fields for the contact information. And of course, the company name. The bio will be a note field. We are also going to create another contact field, which will be a relation field to the user table. This way, we will have two separate ways to store the contact information. One method will require manual user input for the above text fields, but if there is a user record for the contact person, then we can get the information we need from the related user record instead. We'll also add a file field for the company logo type, and a link field for the company website. Let's jump back to our user table. Now that we have our company table in place, let's change our relation field to the correct table. We also need to create a list for our status dropdown. Head over to Lists above the left column and create a new list. For ease of use, it's good practice to use the same names for both the list and the corresponding fields in our tables. In the right column, we can add list items in the same way that we add fields to our tables. We will create one list item for each status available in the dropdown. Save our list, jump back to our user table, and select our status list for the drop-down field. We now have all the fields and tables we need to start using our data model. In the diagram section, we can get a quick overview of how our tables relate to one another. This is a useful tool to get a sense of the data flow in our application. The 3 nodes represent the 3 tables we created, and the arrows signify the relationships between the tables. We can see that the work log table has a relation field to the user table, meaning that the user table is the parent table and the work log is the child. In database contexts, a parent record can have many child records, but a child record can only have one parent. In this case, that means that every user record can have multiple related work log records, but each work log record can only relate to one user. Note that the user and company nodes have a parent-child relationship in each direction. This may seem a bit obscure, but it is a common occurrence in data modeling contexts. In this scenario, the tables relate to each other through different fields. Multiple users can have the same employer. Meanwhile, a company can only have one user as the contract person. Parent-child relations are sometimes referred to as one-to-many relations. There are other relation types, which include one-to-one and many-to-many, which can be configured in IS Tools by using an interlinking table. You'll find more details on this in the IS Tools documentation. Another feature provided by the DME are universal properties for individual fields. We can decide which fields are mandatory for all records in a specific table, and which fields should contain unique values, meaning that no other record can contain the exact same value in that field. In the user table, the email field should be both mandatory and unique, as no 2 users should be allowed the same email address. All users should also have an employer and a first and last name. Oops, it looks like we accidentally created an excessive text field. Let's get rid of it using the trash can. We were able to delete this field because there are no records containing a value for it, nor are there any rules or references to the field. If this was not the case, IS Tools has safeguards in place to prevent accidental deletion or corrupted changes to our data model, so there's no need to be cautious. The username should be both mandatory and unique. In the company table, we'll set the same property values for the company mid. These properties can also be changed in lower levels of the platform, like in user forms. Enabling them from here means that they will apply to the entire application. In the Details tab in the right section, we can define general properties for the selected table. It's good practice to set the default record group to standard. Information about record groups can also be found in the documentation. The record name policy determines the record name format for newly created records. The record name is a default field that all records have. It uses a unique identifier within the record table. With the default record name policy, user input is required for each created record in order to ensure that the record name is unique. By changing it to generated series, each new record is automatically assigned a sequential number as its record name. Be aware that this also means that the record name will not be mutable in forms. With log changes enabled, we will be able to access the change history of the data. This can sometimes be useful, but it can also have a negative impact on performance in the long run. Let's apply the same properties to the other tables we created. We'll leave log changes disabled for the work log table. as enabling it would likely generate large amounts of unnecessary data. Our initial data model is complete. Well done. The next tutorial will cover the creation of user forms, which is where the end user will input data. However, there's a way to manipulate table records directly via the DME. Select the company table and hit the record table icon in the menu. From here, we can create records using the icon in the bottom right corner. Now we just need to provide input for the record fields. Let's give our fictional company a cool, ambiguous name. Mandatory fields are highlighted in red. We won't be able to provide a contact via the user relation, as we have not created any user records. So we'll provide data through our text fields instead. Let's create 2 more company records. We can see that each of our records has been created and assigned a number in the record name field. Open the Table Records form for the User table and create a new record. We have several mandatory fields for user records, one of which is the relation fields to the Employer table. This means that we would not have been able to create user records without first creating company records. We'll use the user's email as their default username as well. Now we'll add 9 more records. In a real-world scenario, it's not likely that a user would need to input all the values manually, and the records would most likely be imported from an existing database. Running data imports will be covered in another tutorial. For now, we're going to use a more straightforward approach to save time on the form input. Using an existing spreadsheet, you can directly copy the data from a cell grid. Just make sure the cells in the spreadsheet correlate to the fields in the table. You can also copy multiple values in the table from one field to another. Our user records have been created. It's worth noting that these records do not represent actual physical user accounts. In order to create physical user accounts, we would need to utilize the user administration form. This is a fairly straightforward process that is also covered in the ISTools documentation. Okay. That concludes the first portion of creating a new application in the ISTools platform. In this video, we have created a basic data model with a few tables containing different field types and properties, and created multiple records for 2 of those tables. In the next video, we will create a user form using Form Designer, then render our user form and see it populated with the data we created. Well done so far. See you in the next video. ISTools. Digital empowerment for your workforce.